When a racist flight attendant destroys a black teen's first-class ticket, she doesn't realize she's just canceled her career and ignited a revolution 30,000 feet in the air. The sprawling terminal of Skyward Airlines buzzed like a beehive, a cacophony of rolling suitcases, crying babies, and the static crackle of overhead announcements. Gate 12, marked by a sleek digital sign glowing Miami Boarding Group 1, was no exception. Travelers in crisp business suits, vacationers in tropical shirts, and harried parents juggling toddlers queued impatiently, their eyes glued to their phones. At the center of it all stood Karen Whitlock, a veteran flight attendant with 15 years under her belt, her platinum blonde bob pinned neatly beneath a navy beret. Her reputation preceded her, efficient, unyielding, and notorious for her zero-tolerance policy for what she deemed disruptive passengers. Near the back of the line, Zoe Carter, a 17-year-old with locks tied into a high ponytail and a vintage leather jacket slung over her shoulders, shifted her duffel bag. She'd spent the morning at a coding boot camp in downtown Chicago, her brain still humming with Python syntax. The first-class ticket tucked into her phone case was a birthday gift from her father, a surprise for achieving her finals. Zoe wasn't one to flaunt wealth, but she'd been excited to experience the plush seats and endless ginger ale, refills she'd heard about. When Zoe finally reached the desk, Karen's frosty blue eyes flickered over her. "Ticket," she said flatly, not bothering to mask her disdain. Zoe handed over her phone, the digital boarding pass glowing on the screen. Karen's manicured finger hovered over it, then paused. Her gaze swept over Zoe's outfit, ripped jeans, chunky boots, a black girl's code pin on her jacket, and her lips thinned. "First class?" Karen snorted, loud enough for the surrounding passengers to hear. "Honey, this isn't Southwest. You can't just pick a seat." Zoe blinked. "Excuse me?" Karen leaned forward, her voice dripping with condescension. "Let me guess. You found this ticket on the ground? Or did your friend lend it to you?" She air-quoted friend, her tone implying something far seedier. Heat rose in Zoe's cheeks, but she kept her voice steady. "It's mine. Seat 2A. You can check the system." Karen's laugh was a sharp, humorless bark. "Oh, I'll check all right." She tapped exaggeratedly at her tablet, then paused, feigning shock. "Would you look at that? No Zoe Carter in first class. In fact, no Zoe Carter anywhere on this flight." She slammed the tablet down. "Forging a ticket is a federal offense, sweetheart. I could have you arrested." Zoe's pulse raced, but she squared her shoulders. "Call your supervisor, now." Karen rolled her eyes. "Security," she barked, snapping her fingers at a burly guard lingering nearby. "Escort this stowaway out. She's trespassing." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A middle-aged woman in line clutched her pearls. A teenage boy filmed the confrontation on his phone. Zoe stood her ground, fists clenched at her sides. "You're making a huge mistake," she said quietly. "The only mistake here," Karen hissed, snatching the phone from Zoe's hand, "is thinking someone like you belongs in first class." With a theatrical flourish, she deleted the ticket from the screen and tossed the phone back. It clattered to the floor, the screen cracking. Zoe didn't move, didn't blink. "You're fired," she said, so softly only Karen heard it. Karen's smirk widened. "Cute, but I'm the one with the power here, little girl." She turned to the security guard. "Get her out." The guard hesitated, his eyes darting between Karen's glare and Zoe's calm defiance. Before he could act, a voice cut through the terminal like a thunderclap. "Is there a problem here?" All heads turned. Marcus Carter, CEO of Skyward Airlines, strode toward Gate 12, flanked by 3 executives. At 6 feet 4 inches, with salt and pepper locks tied back and a tailored charcoal suit, he exuded the kind of authority that silenced rooms. His presence was legendary, a man who'd built Skyward from a regional carrier to a global empire, all while raising Zoe alone after her mother's passing. Karen's blood turned to ice. "Mr. Carter," she stammered, plastering on a smile. "Just a minor security issue. Nothing to worry about." Marcus ignored her, his eyes locked onto Zoe, still standing tall amid the chaos. "Zoe, you okay?" Karen's smile faltered. You know her? Zoe scooped up her cracked phone and handed it to her father. She deleted my ticket, said I didn't belong here. Marcus's jaw tightened. He turned to Karen, his voice dangerously calm. Explain. Now. Karen's mind raced. I, I thought she stole the ticket. Look at her. Does she look like a first-class passenger to you? The terminal fell silent. Marcus knelt to pick up a shard of Zoe's phone case, his movements deliberate. When he stood, his voice shook with barely contained fury. Let me make something clear, Ms. Whitlock. This young lady isn't just my daughter. She's the heir to Skyward Airlines. And that ticket? He pulled out his own phone, pulling up a confirmation email. Was booked under my account. Care to explain why you accused her of theft? Karen's face went sheet white. There must have been a system error. Bullshit, Marcus snapped. He turned to the crowd, raising his voice. Skyward Airlines was built on inclusivity, but today one of our own employees decided my daughter, a black teenager, didn't belong in first class. That ends now. He turned to Karen. You're terminated, effective immediately. You can't do this, Karen shrieked, desperation clawing at her throat. I've worked here for 15 years. And in 15 years, Marcus said coldly, you never learned basic human decency. Security escorted her out. As Karen was led away, sputtering protests, Marcus pulled Zoe into a hug. I'm so sorry, Zoe. Zoe shook her head, her voice steady. This isn't about me, Dad. How many others has she done this to? The crowd erupted into applause. The teen who'd filmed the encounter whooped, already uploading the video to TikTok. Marcus glanced at his watch. Come on, let's get you to Miami. Actually, Zoe nodded toward Karen, now screaming at the security guard in the parking lot. I think we've got bigger things to handle first. 2 weeks later, Skyward Airlines dominated global headlines. Karen's termination had gone viral, with the hashtag #CheckYourPrejudice trending for days. The airline's PR team worked overtime, but Marcus and Zoe had bigger plans. In a press conference at Skyward's headquarters, Marcus announced sweeping reforms, mandatory bias training, a 24/7 discrimination hotline, and a partnership with Zoe's newly founded Code the Sky initiative, a mentorship program for Black and Latina teens pursuing aviation and tech. This isn't just damage control, Zoe told reporters, her voice firm. It's about making sure no kid ever feels unwelcome on a plane because of their race. Meanwhile, Karen's life unraveled. Her LinkedIn profile flooded with angry comments. Her fiancé left her, taking their Shih Tzu. Even her mother, a retired flight attendant, disowned her in a New York Times op-ed titled, How I Failed My Daughter. On a crisp Monday morning, Zoe sat in her father's corner office, reviewing applications for Code the Sky's first cohort. Marcus leaned in the doorway, sipping black coffee. You sure you don't want to wait until after Harvard to run this? Zoe grinned. Why wait? The world's on fire, Dad. Time to build something better. Marcus shook his head, pride swelling in his chest. Your mom would have loved this. Zoe's smile softened. Yeah, she would have. The story ends at Gate 12, now rebranded as the Zoe Carter Diversity Wing. A mural of Black pioneers in aviation, from Bessie Coleman to Tammy Jo Schultz, spans the walls. A new hire, Jamila Thompson, 22 and fresh from aviation school, adjusts her hijab and beams at her first solo shift. As the Miami-bound plane taxis down the runway, Zoe texts her best friend. Gate 12 secured. Next stop, Harvard. Then, the World Inn Seat 2A, she opens her laptop, the Skyward logo glowing on the screen. Somewhere below, Karen scrolls through job postings, her finger hovering over an application for a fast food drive-thru. She closes the tab. The plane soars into a cloudless sky, its contrail etching a promise across the horizon. Moral, power fades. Character is forever.